All right, in this video, I'm gonna break down why manifesting isn't working for you, and if it should work for you, or if it's gonna be extremely difficult for it to work for you, and if you should just give up. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that you're not feeling hard enough. I'm not gonna tell you that you need to write down your vision and you need to hold it in your head. I'm not gonna tell you that you need to be reading all of these manifestation books. I'm not gonna tell you all of that stuff that everybody's telling you right now. It's like, you gotta really feel it, you gotta put your feet in it. No, 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 I'm not gonna tell you that garbage because it's not applicable until you understand this okay? And I'm gonna break it down into 3 vases. I'm actually gonna give you an image so you can understand which vase you are and then give you a plan accordingly. And by the way, I generated $3 million over the last 3 years helping coaches and content creators scale to $1 million a year. So I've made a lot of money and I've actually done a lot of work with myself. So you'll see what bucket I lie in, but I've gone through a bunch of stuff in my life that has allowed me to figure out how I need to organize it and how I need to accept it so that I can manifest or create the reality I want and also clean myself up so I can, have a great relationship with my wife and my future kids. So there's 3 buckets, there's 3 vases, if you will. And so you can see through the vase, it's like what you put some flowers in, right? But let's imagine that one vase is filled with clear water, right? One vase is filled with murky water, and one vase is filled with, it was murky water, but the sediment came to the bottom, so there's sand on the bottom of that vase, and the top was scraped and cleaned, so it's actually clear. And so it's clear on top, and there's sand on the bottom. Okay, so you're going to be one of these 3 vases. Number 1 vase is somebody with a very simple psyche. This means that you did not go through a bunch of stuff as a kid. It means you had a pretty normal life, and so nothing crazy traumatic happened to you. You're a pretty normal kid. And by the way, this is actually not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is, and at the end you'll understand how it really doesn't make too big of a difference. That everybody can achieve the end result, but one's going to be easier. So if you're a simple psych, it's actually going to be so much easier for you to manifest, right? Because you haven't had a bunch of stuff go on with you. So now let's take this letter M and let's drop it in this vase. Bloop. Now when you drop it in the vase, what you're going to see is the M comes down and it lands on the bottom, and it probably will like go to the side a little bit, right? It's not going to stand upright because it's hitting the bottom, and M's are pretty thin, right? So it's probably just going to fall over. But you're going to see the M beautifully, very clearly. Now the M stands for manifestation. So if you're very simple psyche, it's going to be very easy for you to manifest. So you're probably not watching this video because you probably already manifested. So that's why I have the complex psyches at the end, so stay tuned. But these people, and I've seen them, I've known multimillionaires who have a very simple psyche and they haven't had a bunch of stuff go on with them, and they can just easily take the learnings from books that they read and it just works for them because there's not a lot going on in here. I'm not saying there's not a lot going on in here. I know very intelligent people, very above average IQs, probably even geniuses, but they have a very simple psyche. Boop. They can just take it, it imprints upon them, and they can manifest. Okay, so that's number 1. Boom. Now these people get manifestations quickly, and then they can compound it over a long period of time. They usually manifest earlier in life. Now, number 2, and these are the most difficult, but it's usually transitions. This is where most people are. Honestly, this is where most people are. You're looking at that murky vase, right? And if you have a murky vase, it's somebody who has a more complex psyche, and so they've got a bunch of dissonance, they've got a bunch of things going on inside of them that aren't fully aligned, and so they're swirling around, and when you drop the M, goes down, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually see the M through the murky water, right? And that represents manifestation. So if you've got a complex psyche and you've got a lot of stuff going on inside of you, it's going to be very difficult to manifest because yourself is at odds. Your own inner being is at odds. And so this is where they have the conversation of, well, you don't know what you truly want. You can truly 100% believe on your conscious level that you know exactly what you want, but your unconscious is saying something completely different. And this is where we have the conversation of, oh, well, I'm not worthy. Oh, well, I don't deserve this. Oh, well, I'm a monster, right? All of these unconscious conversations that come up in the back of your head that are at odds with the manifestation of I'm a multimillionaire, I'm successful, my wife loves me, right? That's not good. That's not 100% there. And what's crazy is for the simplistic psyches, that's there. It's like my wife loves me, I'm a multimillionaire, boom. There's nothing at odds with them. There's no dissonance at play. But when you come to somebody with a complex psyche who's been through a bunch of stuff, then there's going to be reactions to the stuff that they've been through that is some positive and some negative. And the next conversation is, well, what's positive and what's negative, right? But that being said, how do we fix this, right? If you've got murky water and you can't see the manifestation, you can't manifest, well, what do? Let's look at the third phase, because you can't manifest with this. You can't. You can play the physical game and you can grind and you can work and you can hustle, but at the end of the day, you have this inner turmoil that is going to either sabotage, which we've seen, or not allow you to find oneness, because the one inside of yourself is in turmoil. So you're just not going to find peace. And we usually see this manifesting in like diseases later in life, in their 30s or 40s, usually in the stomach, right? Or in other ways of, crashing, midlife crisis, all these things. Now, what happens when you refine this, when you actually do the work, is the third vase. Now, the third vase is going to be the water that was murky, but what do? We let the sand settle. And what did it do when the sand settled? It grabbed the murky stuff and it brought it down, right? And so now you've got all that stuff and you realize, oh, that murky water was just a bunch of sediment. And now you got a bunch of sediment on the bottom. And that sediment is actually a very strong foundation, right? Because instead of just a glass foundation that's brittle, that the M comes and falls, you drop an M now and you see the M all the way down, and it's going to hit the sand and it's going to sink into the sand. And it's going to sit upright. And so you're actually going to be able to see the M better on this one than you will on the one that had no sand, because that one's just going to fall over. This has a strong foundation. And this is exactly what happens when you take the murk and you deal with it and you simultaneously hold all the murk, the sediment, with the clearness. And what you'll see is you'll see the clear and you'll have the sediment, and they will exist simultaneously, because the murkiness, the sediment, is not bad. It's not inherently bad. It just is. And so we're not trying to remove the sediment. That's going to be a lost cause. You are who you are. What we want to do is allow it to exist and know that it exists here, and allow the water to exist, and the water exists here. Now it's clear because the sediment has pulled all the murkiness down, and now boom, you've got this M. And so what we can see from this explanation is once we deal with our inner turmoil, we become clear again, and we become just as clear as the simplistic psyches. And what's great is we also have this amazing foundation. So with an amazing foundation, you can build more on top of it. You can actually manifest more than somebody with a simplistic psyche. Now, this doesn't mean a simplistic psyche is worse. No, because a simplistic psyche, if they understand sooner, which they should because it's simple, they can compound their manifestations over a longer period of time because they can start sooner. Now, if you're dealing with your garbage, most people don't deal with their garbage till 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, if ever. And so the people who do this, they bring it all down and they have a strong foundation. And what happens? They can pile manifestations. They're so fully aligned that their manifestations happen extremely quickly and they spread like wildfire, right? So for a simple psyche, it's like, for a foundational psyche, it's like a complex one, it's like boom, right? It's a rocket ship. So if you're trying to manifest right now and you've resonated with anything in this video and you're like, yeah, I think I'm a little bit more complex than some other people who it's working for, then just watch some more videos on my channel and we can have conversations on how to deal with it. One of the things that you want to ask yourself is, try and grab a book. What is it that's complex about you? And try and write it down, right? And if you're simple, amazing, go read some books, right? And if you're complex, write down why you're complex and maybe what uncomfortable conversations do you need to have to fix it. See you in the next one. Peace.